Welcome to the Your Entrepreneurship School podcast, or as I like to call it, the Yes Podcast. My name is Britta Moreta. I'm an executive business consultant for women who dream of living wildly and wealthy abroad. The Yes Podcast is for women who are ready to build a business that funds her dream life abroad so she can expand her business, bank account, and brilliance without settling for a life that tames her wildness. The Yes Podcast is sponsored by Bridal Babes Yoga, a Luxe start to your celebration. Ready to elevate your bachelorette or hen-do weekend with something truly unforgettable? My Bridal Babes Yoga experiences are crafted with intention, movement, and connection because you deserve more than just the usual. Immerse yourself in a soulful, joy-filled session designed exclusively for you and your crew. Whether you crave a restorative morning flow, a themed class with playful energy, or a heart-centered practice to set powerful intentions for this next chapter, we'll curate a dreamy experience that feels as radiant and one-of-a-kind as your love story. What to expect? Thoughtfully curated playlist, essential oil-infused head massage, a pause to breathe, move, laugh, and connect with the optional add-ons of tarot card reading, astrology chart reading, and friendship bracelet making. This isn't just a yoga class. It's a radiant start to your weekend, an unforgettable moment of luxurious relaxation and joy before the confetti. Let's make magic for your bridal crew. To book a Bridal Babes yoga class, you can go to brittamoreta.com/bridal-babes-yoga or find our link in the show notes. Hello, Krishna. Welcome to the Yes Podcast. I'm so excited and so grateful you are here today. I would love for you to introduce yourself further.
Hi, Britta. Thanks for having me. So I'm Krishna Hasamal, mom of 4. I'm going to start with that because it feels like that's my most important job at the moment. I have 2 children and then 4 children, 2 of which are twins, all kind of still under the age of 6. So it's pretty intense. And then I also have a yoga business. So I teach prenatal yoga, postnatal yoga, and hypnobirthing. And I do it all online at the moment. It's quite exciting. So I have the way I work and the way I serve pregnant women, because I've been doing this for many, many years now, since 2013.
Wow.
Kind of, way before I was even pregnant myself. Most of it was in person back then, kind of random classes here and there, yoga retreats, that kind of stuff. And then since I had children, something had to shift. I was also working full time and doing yoga. And then I kind of had to stop everything and find a way of making my work adapt to my family instead of making my family adapt to my work.
I love that.
That was like a huge shift. I also went through a huge identity shift after having each child. Something happened to me internally. It's like each pregnancy and each child taught me something new about myself, about what my priorities were, about also a lot about my work and what I want to do and how I want to do it. And now I've set up a membership because I tried doing courses and things like that for pregnancy, and I was like, I don't just want to do, like a 5-week pregnancy course, because what happens after? It's like, okay, come in for 5-6 weeks, do your pregnancy, and then bye-bye. And that didn't sit well with me. So I run a membership where you can come every week. You have live yoga classes, you have access to recordings, you have a community, we do mother circles. And then I've got a hypnobirthing course, which is the actual hypnobirthing is covered in 4 weeks, but you're there for 12 months. So you have my support for 12 months, even after you've given birth. So it's taken me a few years to get to this point, but now I'm really comfortable and happy with what I'm offering and kind of starting off again after kind of had to start and stop after each child. But now there's no more children going to come. And now we're back in business. That we're done. Shop is closed. And now I'm kind of building up the business.
Well, thank you for just giving us this deep dive into what you do and who you serve. And we're actually going to go deeper into this. But because this is the Yes Podcast, I have all of my guests just answer, what are you saying yes to today? Whether it's in your personal life, your yoga business, in your life.
Yeah. So if I had to pick one, can I say?
Sure.
I think right now at this moment has to be yes to, seeing the positive in the world and actively choosing to see the positive. I find that right now we're just being overloaded with horrendous stuff that's happening in the world, and it gets too difficult to kind of swim out of it sometimes. We feel helpless and lost and like doomed for the future of our children. But there is beautiful stuff out there. There are good people. And I think we have to make an effort to see that. It doesn't come to us naturally at this point in time. And with that, I'm saying yes to that, but I'm also saying yes to like doing those things that I want back. So for example, like I realized when people ask me for reviews now, I give them a review. Whereas before I'd be like, I have no time. Now I'm like, actually, I want reviews for my business. So I'm going to give out reviews. I make sure I pay my bills on time. I make sure I reply messages. I give feedback because I feel like I want all those things as well, right? So I'm being more conscious of doing those small actions that I want back. Yeah.
That was so beautiful. I feel like you are an honest and beautiful representation of like what it means to live in integrity. Yeah, like I remember you posted, maybe it's like a month ago. Time is very nonlinear for me, and you shared how like you deleted your Amazon account. Like this is like, even though it's something very small for you, it's like it's being that example. And then I went and deleted mine. This has got to go, and I really resonated with that, because if we don't believe in those things, and if we want to see any type of change in the world, it is up to us. And that is the path that I've lived on from day one. It's like, I don't really care who's in charge. I'm in charge of my path. Therefore, I'm going to make a difference in my journey. And if other people follow that, great. And if not, I still did it for me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, because when I did that, I shared that. I thought I'm just one person in 8 billion. Like, what difference is it going to make? But the fact it did make a difference. Someone else took an action from it. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. So you shared about your membership, and I would just love to know. I am basically the only one left in my traveling yoga teacher group. You're all in this WhatsApp group I created to connect all of you, but I'm the only one who is not a mom. I'm a cat mom, which does not count. And I would love to know why you switched from the course to the membership in the perspective of this is what actually works for moms. What did you see needed to change so that you could either bring in more moms and get more clients, but also it was more accessible to them?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a long term. What I found, and I think pregnant women don't realize this, but after you've given birth, you realize this. The pregnancy, there's so much focus on taking care of yourself during pregnancy, which is important, and it's there. So there's all this focus, taking care of yourself in pregnancy. You do that 4-week course, that 5-week course, that 6-week course, then you go off, you have your baby. And then what I hear is, I'm lost. I can't cope. I'm struggling. I'm tired. I don't know what to do, and then after that 6-week mark, the midwife or the doctor sends you back out into the world, and you're supposed to go back to your normal yoga class or go back to your normal activities. And these moms, they feel lost. They get more injuries. They take longer to recover. I have one of my students was told after 6 or 8 weeks after cesarean to go back up, but it took us 6 months. For 6 months, she still had pain. She couldn't do, So I realized that if I want to serve women, not just pregnant women, I need to have something that continues after. And just a pregnancy yoga course, for me, it doesn't cut it. So and I know memberships are harder, actually. And my business coach was not the biggest fan of me doing a membership instead of a course, but it didn't feel right for me. And I didn't want to do fully pre-recorded, because a course, it's in fashion now, right? To sell courses, everything's pre-recorded, to save ourselves, to give ourselves time and to reach out there more. But I wasn't comfortable only offering pre-recorded stuff. I wanted to be there with my students live, see them move, let them be seen by someone as well. And what I heard a lot was that, especially during pregnancy and postpartum, life gets busy, kind of your own self-care gets put at the bottom of the list. It does.
It does.
The baby, whether the baby's inside or outside, gets priority, right? So if you don't schedule, hey, yoga is on tonight at 8 p.m. And if I say, hey, you've got a library there, they were not watching the library. People were paying, but they were not watching the recorded classes. But they were coming online that 1 hour a week because they knew someone's there watching them. So that's what I saw. And that's what made me feel good as well, to be able to see them, help them. How are you feeling today? Because what happens in pregnancy is that every week is different.
Yeah.
And even in postnatal, like so much is changing in your body in such a short span of time. It's 40 weeks is nothing. It's less than a year. But your body, you might go up 20 kilos or whatever. It's such a huge shift. So you need to know as a teacher how your student is feeling right there and then, because today they might be feeling tired and tomorrow they might be feeling energetic. So that's kind of why I went down the membership and the live class route.
I think this is so important, especially as yoga teachers, because, the whole reason I teach yoga is to provide human connection. When we live in this AI online world, and I feel like we all go on all these apps and on social media to find human connection because we already feel disconnected from ourselves and the world. And the fact that you are someone who provides an actual human connection versus pre-recorded. And I think both can be helpful. I think it's great to have some classes in the library and provide that one-on-one attention because, like you said, the body's changing when you're pregnant every week. And maybe you are the only person that they have who, one, has experienced what they're going through, and two, is listening to them, which is so important. Like, you don't even have to give advice. It's just you are there to listen and to receive and to hold them in that. And I think sometimes as yoga teachers, we get all caught up around the asana and all the things that just don't matter in yoga when it's actually the holding space and the listening. And that's, at the end of the day, is what's going to bring them back to your classes because they're going to remember, wow, she listened to me, she cared for me, and she provided some yoga poses that made me feel better in my body, that made me feel either more relaxed or strengthen something or just let me be at ease. And I just feel like to the yoga teachers listening to this is what's important in any type of yoga class, is providing that human one-on-one connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you said is very important about that feeling disconnected in the online world. And whether you do the class online or in person, especially in prenatal and postnatal yoga, there's so much value to offering that connection between the students as well.
Yes.
Because
And they
those,
need that.
yeah, those students are the only people feeling like that at that point. So that's the value of them joining a class instead of just watching a video, because you get to speak to another pregnant person who's also going through what you're going through.
And I think that's what sometimes we forget is like the community aspect of yoga is like it doesn't even matter if they're there for you or the class. Maybe they just made a lifelong friend that they didn't know that they needed. I really believe the universe has you pick your head up when they need you, when they want you to connect with someone.
Yeah.
And it could, maybe they only go to that yoga class one time, but they met someone who now can be on that journey with them. And a lot of my friends, they all just had kids within the past year, and all of them are like exhausted and their body's going through things that they didn't know would happen after pregnancy. And I always ask them, what do you need? And they always say, I don't know. I don't even know how I need to be supported. So when we provide these spaces, whether it's yoga classes, mother circles, or just a listening ear, that could be something that they need that they don't even know that they need.
No.
And I would love for you to just talk a little bit about prenatal versus postnatal from the yoga class perspective. So
Yeah.
if someone was pregnant and that's one type of yoga class, then what does the postnatal yoga class look like? And I'd love for you to just give us a deep dive on this for people who are thinking about getting certified in this, or maybe they're teaching and they want to just get some more tools in their toolbox.
Yeah. So they're quite different, actually, very different. And I think you need to go back and think about what's actually happening in the body. Because, of course, you could have pregnant and postnatal women join regular yoga classes. Could be perfectly fine. But let's think about, so in pregnancy, on a physical level, the body is expanding.
Yeah.
Right? There's a huge expansion taking place. There's increase of weight, there's increase of fluids, there's actually more blood. You're producing more blood, you're producing more fluids. The physical demands on the mother are higher, and they're increasing as the baby increases. And we need to take that into account when we look at poses, right? And maybe a yogi mom who's been doing, huge warrior twos, and she's used to doing warrior twos and she feels good in warrior twos, but while she's pregnant, her hormones are changing as well. And she's got a hormone which is called relaxin, which she's producing to create more space so she can get injured faster if she's used to opening up more. Her pelvis is expanding, the bones are shifting, the rib cage is moving, everything is shifting, right? And that's just on a physical level. The center of gravity is shifting, so her balance is changing week by week. For yoga teachers out there, the main thing that people talk about are twists, of course. Yeah. So you need to kind of understand you can twist, and pregnant women can do everything. There's not a lot of, and I don't want us to be scared of pregnancy yoga. There's nothing to fear. I went into it with fear, actually, when I started teaching pregnancy yoga. My first assessment, I was overly cautious with this pregnant woman, and she looked at me, she's like, I can do pretty much everything, right? I was like, oh, sorry. There's nothing to fear. But we do have to take into account that the body is doing extra work even when it's doing nothing. Yeah, you're growing a human. So just on a physical level, you're pumping about a third more blood than you would normally do. You're producing more blood and you're pumping more blood through your body. So just that alone is extra work. So you can pretty much do nearly everything, but you need to understand as a teacher what's going to be beneficial, right? For the mom. And then I would say from an energetic point of view, we want the energy to go down. We don't want to go up too much. We want to keep it grounded. We want to keep the hips wide, the legs, we want to do these squats and these goddess poses, but to keep our energy down. We want to send it down to the lower chakras, to the base. We want to connect with the earth. We can use yoga and yoga poses to do that.
Can you provide some props that people could use at home if maybe there's not a yoga studio that offers prenatal classes in their neighborhood? What are some props they could do to support them in a practice if they're
Yeah.
pregnant?
Yeah. So most of the teaching I do is from my living room, and most of my students are in their living room. So we use sofas, chairs, cushions, because, in pregnancy yoga, you do really need quite a few bolsters. I don't expect them to have yoga bolsters at home. Cushions, the actual sofa cushions,
Yeah.
the big, bulky sofa cushions, blankets, pillows. Instead of a belt, one of my students uses a bathrobe.
Okay.
You could use books to sit on. So I don't think you need any fancy equipment. You can do pretty much anything you want at home.
Yes.
The wall is an amazing, amazing prop to use that's completely understated. What's the
Yeah.
word? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Underused.
underused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with this. So I don't teach pre or postnatal yoga, but in general, I teach with home props. Like I use books as well, chairs, the wall to use because I think the more accessible we make yoga, the more people who are going to show up and the more people who are going to have the opportunity to take care of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you teach someone how to do it at home in their living room during a class, they'll learn how to do it outside the class as well.
Yeah.
So I can teach them how to do a relaxation with the sofa using their legs and, their cushions. Then they can do that later on, and they can do it in their free time.
What would you say? We talked a little bit about prenatal. Someone just had their baby. When do you think is a good time for them to come back to yoga and what types of practices are available for them once the baby is born?
Yeah, this is quite a difficult one in a way. I mean, officially, you get the clear from the doctor or the midwife, which is around 6 weeks. And it really depends. I think personally, and what I've been taught and what I teach from a yoga, you can do yoga from day one, right? You can lie in bed with your baby on you. You can practice your breath. You can do pelvic floor exercises from day one. And I don't mean pelvic floor exercises by like lifting and squeezing, but you can start by recovering and helping your uterus and your womb recover by doing gentle breathing techniques, focusing on the belly button, focusing on the diaphragm, focusing on the lower abdomen, trying to send your awareness down to the muscles and the organs in the lower abdomen, which you might have lost sensitivity for.
Yep.
Sometimes it's quite hard. You try and send your breath all the way down to your lower belly and you can't. There's no feeling there. There's no sensitivity. So that is yoga. You could start with that right from birth. Having your baby on you, lying on your chest and just breathing, yoga, right? Just lying on the floor, doing pelvic tilts. And I will say, for example, for my first child, it took me 4 weeks. It took me 4 weeks to be able to lie on the floor with my knees bent and do pelvic floor. So to do physical movement.
When you
right?
say 4 weeks, like, did you
After
try
birth.
practicing it at week 1 or week 2 and you
Yeah,
realized there's
and I couldn't because it also depends on the birth that you've had and how you're feeling. I physically couldn't lie on the floor flat on my back, even with my knees bent. It was too uncomfortable. It was too painful. I couldn't do it. I could do it on the bed, but I couldn't do it on the floor, right? It's different. So I wouldn't have been able to go to a yoga class because I couldn't lie on the floor and stay there. So there's things, then I learned you can put a blanket underneath your lower back. That helps. And I learned it's normal. We have this expectation that you can jump back and it doesn't work like that. Many times it's just going to a yoga class. The challenge is just getting out of the house.
Yeah, for like
Right.
1 hour.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, I offer online yoga. You can do it at home. But the challenge, my students take about 2 to 3 months to come back after they give birth. They want to come back sooner, but it's more about the logistics of it. And where to start, you start on the floor.
I love that you start on the floor.
You just start on the floor. Literally, we start on the floor. We start lying on our backs. We start with our knees bent. We start with breathing, deep breathing, and we start recovering from the inside. We don't start with like thinking about the belly or like in the sense of like losing the weight. We think about releasing tension in the body and recovering, just recovering from the inside, from the deepest muscles of your core. And that's done with the breath.
You mentioned earlier that a lot of times when they're like have the baby on the chest and they're doing their breathing exercises, that they still can't feel things. They can't feel what's going on the inside. Is there something that you teach to help them eventually get reconnected to the inner parts of their bodies so that maybe 6 weeks or 9 weeks or even months later, they can start feeling what's happening within?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is kind of like deep, deep breathing exercises. And I start that in pregnancy, because if you start teaching that in pregnancy, you start building the awareness in pregnancy, awareness with those part of your deepest core muscles, your pelvic floor muscles, the lower abdomen. I didn't know where my uterus, uterus, womb, all these things. I didn't know anything about this or had any sensation of my pelvic floor. And after I gave birth, couldn't send my breath there because I couldn't connect with it. And it takes time to build those neurological connections, right? You can build them over time, but it's really subtle, right? Like so postnatally, some of the exercises are really about aligning the pelvis with the floor, finding the right position. And sometimes it's just literally a millimeter off, a centimeter off, and can really shift the way you breathe, the way you feel, the pain you have, what you don't have. So it kind of goes back to using the breath at the beginning, lying on the floor, aligning the pelvis, and kind of working on closing up a little bit. I said in pregnancy, we work on opening, and postnatal, we're working on closing and kind of contracting and bringing the body back in, and that sense of being, wrapped up and being cozy again, and really, just kind of bringing it all in together. Yeah, but from the inside.
Yes. And that's really where, in my opinion, in any yoga practice, that's where it begins. It's not what's happening on the outside. I think what's happening on the outside is like this perk that isn't even needed, because yoga is what we feel within. It always has been. And I think that's why anyone practices yoga, is because they're dealing with real life things, whether they're a mom or not. And it doesn't even matter. That outer world, to me, it's like my yoga practice, that 1 hour, is to shut out what is outside so that we
Absolutely.
can have that inner practice. Can you talk a bit about yoga studios and maybe some things that they can do to provide more accessibility? For example, if I was teaching a yin class or a vinyasa class, not even pre or postnatal, and I have someone who comes in who just had a baby 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and I don't even know how to provide for them because maybe I don't have the awareness of, oh, they can't physically feel what's happening on the inside. How can I, as a yoga teacher, teach a more accessible practice for them?
I think the first step is we need to change the shift that the mother has to come to the teacher and say it.
Yeah.
Because I think what happens is that we get given this tick after we give birth. Okay, go back into the yoga class. And the mother will go into the yoga class and won't tell the teacher, hey, I gave birth 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first step. Anyone who's listening, go and tell the teacher even if it's a year ago, tell them. They should know this, because if the teacher doesn't know, then they can't do anything. Second, I would ask if they're breastfeeding or not. First question I would ask as a teacher, are you breastfeeding? Because that tells me a lot about what's going on with her breast, and also hormonally. I would ask her how she's feeling, what kind of birth she had. Was it a cesarean birth? Was it a vaginal birth? And then I would encourage her to take it down a level. It's delicate to tell someone, don't compare yourself to the other people in the class.
Yeah, that's a hard thing for
That's
anyone.
really hard, because when you're not pregnant, you don't look pregnant. Like when you're pregnant, it's okay because you have the belly, but after giving birth. And if you're not confident, just tell them, listen, I would rather you not come to the class until it's been 6 months. Shame in that. There's absolutely no shame in saying, but I would definitely take it easy. Remember that their joints are still extra flexible. They're still relaxing in their body. She might be extremely tired.
Yeah, which is
She
normal.
might be extremely, extremely tired, but maybe she doesn't have time to herself, so she wants to push herself and come to this yoga class to feel better. But, bear in mind that you want her to come out feeling better and not more tired. So I think it is a challenge from a teacher point of view. But at the end of the day, it's also her choice to join that type of yoga class if that's what she wanted.
Thank you for sharing all of this, because what I'm hearing is that this is a dialogue. It's not just one-sided yoga teacher or one-sided new mom coming into class. Like, this is a conversation that needs to be had. And I agree that a lot of yoga teachers are not going to know if someone just had a baby, and they're not gonna go up to them and be like, did you just have a baby? Like, I've never had that happen in a class in my life. So I love that, like, permission for moms to use their voice and be like, hey, like, I just had a child. This is how my body's feeling. And yoga teachers to know, like, this is what we can and can't provide in a class. And it's okay to say, yes, come in, or hey, come to this other class. Maybe it's yin, maybe it's postnatal, and just having options. And I think in studios in general, I have managed studios, owned studios, taught in several studios, and there's so many that don't provide classes for moms or even mommy and me things. And I think from a studio perspective, we need to have more options. And that, first of all, if you are a studio that is in a neighborhood that is full of moms, maybe it's work from home moms or just like people who like, it's just one of those neighborhoods where there's schools everywhere. And it's like, this is a child neighborhood. We need to be having prenatal classes, postnatal. I know when I worked in one studio in Boston, we would have a vinyasa class for women and the same hour have someone else teach kids yoga. So if they couldn't get a sitter, mom could practice yoga and child could practice yoga. And I would just love to see more of that.
I would love to see more of that too.
There's so much we can do. Create a stroller section where everyone can park their strollers.
Yeah, I've had so many, I could tell you so many stories I've had. I taught postnatal yoga, prenatal yoga and postnatal yoga once in a studio. And the studio obviously had other rooms. People were having massages, but the strollers had to come in. And the owner was like, yeah, come in, rent my space. I'm like, prenatal, postnatal. There'll be children, there'll be babies, there'll be... Yes. Can you not leave the strollers here? Can you be quiet? There's a massage going. I'm like, I can't have strollers. And then after the class, you got a bunch of mums with babies. There's going to be noise. There's going to be nappy changes. There's going to be chit chat. The owner was making me pay for that extra time that the people were standing there in their lobby chatting. Pregnant women, things like pregnant women have higher basal temp, like their bodies are warmer. To have cooler settings for them. The studios would complain about the air conditioning, about water, about the more toilet breaks, stuff like that. And then also, I if you don't mind, I want to talk on the topic of studios. And because I know a lot of people listening to this maybe own studios or yoga teachers, like, why can't we have children in the classes?
Yeah.
I was used to go to a studio in Germany, and a Iyengar studio, his son would come in and out on the holidays. It was fine. Now, I understand that as a mom, I pay for a class and I want to be away from my kids and have some quiet, but other kids don't bother me. Generally, it's just your own kids you want to get space from. But especially when it's a baby, why can't we just let our kids, like, kids are part of a society. Children are part of our society. Why do we need to exclude them, And I was thinking, like, in yoga classes, we tend to say if there's like in Shavasana, for example, and there's like a police siren that goes out or a loud noise from outside, we'll say, oh, these noises are part of life and incorporate them into life. It's all about how we react to these things because we can't block out stuff. Why do we need to block out our children's noises, block out traffic? I've taught in a studio once. I used to teach after my daughter was born, and my husband would take care of my daughter that evening class every week. And it happened once that he was late. His train got delayed, so he was stuck at the train station. I couldn't cancel or find a substitute an hour before, so I went with my baby, waiting for him to come to the studio to collect her. And I had to teach with my baby, so I strapped her on me and I taught my class. And it went fine. Everything was fine. She was quiet. And I got a complaint. Someone complained to the studio. And I'm like, I understand, but like, why? I understand on one hand that student has come for a yoga class. I gave it my 100%. The baby was fine. That person got their yoga class. The baby went out of the room in 20 minutes when my husband arrived. But like, they're part of life. They're part of society. I think we need to kind of,
it's like a rewire,
silence around a yoga class.
I think that's very Western as well. We have to wear the perfect yoga clothes and the name brand yoga mats and the perfect props.
And life is messy and loud, and especially when you have kids. So,
and I think we really need to, I would love to live in a world where yoga was less westernized, and basically the original yoga is what I would like to see more. Because in my experience, I have worked in really corporate yoga studios, and I've worked in London. I teach at a studio that's owned by a mom whose child and dog comes into the class, and the front of the studio is an organic shop. And I love these types of spaces. And I noticed that in these super perfect corporate world things, I don't even feel good in the studios because I just feel a negative energy in a way that if I can't like do a handstand, I'm not welcome there, that type of energy. And I think that's the problem is we have Instagrammed yoga rather than actually knowing and practicing what yoga is. And like yoga by definition is unity. So children are part of that. And as a kids yoga teacher, kids need yoga, in my opinion. When I would teach yoga in schools, it was the best part of their day. Also a break for the teachers for 45 minutes. There's a lot of benefits that happen when we teach kids yoga. They learn how to get in touch with their bodies. They learn from meditation, about meditation from day one. They also teach us how to be more joyful, that yoga is not that serious. And I'm sure when you taught that class with your baby strapped on you, I'm sure you were like, hey, my husband's 20 minutes late. I'm going to teach with this baby. It's the elephant in the room.
It was snowing outside. Like, the trains were delayed. It was like, and my baby's gone past their bedtime as well. It's not like she doesn't want to be there. You know, it's just, yeah, I feel like we have this divide, and like we keep like, you know, children and elderly have to be separated from society when we were all a child once and we're all going to be old again. Like, I don't know. I'm struggling with that on many levels because I see it everywhere. I see it in restaurants, in hotels, on airplanes. It's not just the yoga studios, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And I think that, like, to me, like, and this is just the yogi in me, like, I believe that yogis are here to change the world. Historically, they did that. Like, if you read the history books of yoga, like, we know that, like, when, like, the English, like, invaded India, it was, like, the yogis who would meditate in the caves by day, then, like, go out at night and, like, switch up the train tracks. And, like, that's, like, the kind of yoga I practice and believe in. How can I shake up society so that we can be more awake and more aware of each other and can hold space? And when I think of that from a yoga studio perspective, if I am calling myself a yoga community, then who is not in my studio? I ask that all the time. Who is not here that needs to be represented here? Is it mothers? Is it babies? Is it children? Is it also fathers? Like, who is not here? And how can I create space within my studio? And even if you are a studio owner and you're like, oh, I only have one studio room. Okay, but do you have a closet where they can pack up their strollers for 1 hour? Do you have a lobby space that for 45 minutes the door can be locked and that can be the kids' yoga room while mom and dad are practicing in that room? Can we create nappy stations in like bathrooms? So like there are so many ways we could do it if we would just like take the time to think about it and then actually make it happen.
Yeah. Or even something simple, which has happened, especially postnatal moms. Moms who come with their babies or moms who come without. Give them time. Give them extra time. They're going to come late. They are going to come late.
Yes.
They will always, a postnatal yoga class will never start on time. Will start on time, but someone will always come late. And I've had moms who've gone to other classes, the other exercise classes, and they've been kicked out because they've arrived 5 or 10 minutes late. And they've come to me like in tears, friends, saying, you know, I did everything possible to join. This is my weekly window. And the teacher kicked me out because I was late. But of course, the teacher doesn't know that the reason you're out is because you had a child who was screaming, who had a tantrum, you had to leave him with your grandparent. You know, so those small things, I know some teachers are very strict about their timings, but when it comes to postnatal yoga or moms, let that woman in, even if she's late. Yoga teacher here in Spain, he knew my situation. He'd be like, even if you're 15 minutes late, just come in.
Yeah.
It's fine. And I appreciate that because not everybody would do that.
And I think, you know, just from a sequencing perspective, I have a 15-minute rule myself. If my class is 60 minutes, a student can come in up to 15 minutes, but then the bodies are going to be warmed up.
Yeah.
So I think from like a sequencing perspective, please, yoga teachers listening to this, we don't need to have them in a crow pose or a warrior pose 2 to 15 minutes in. They should just be like child's pose, downward dog, Tadasana.
Exactly.
This whole like rushing people through sequencing as well. If you, in my opinion, if you are a well-educated yoga teacher, there is no quickness that is needed. Like we don't need it. We all end up in Shavasana. Like why are we rushing through a sequence? So those first 15 minutes, in my opinion, are there. If you have that window to let latecomers in, especially moms, let them in. And also from like a communication standpoint, this is like my biggest pet peeve in yoga. The amount of times I don't know how to get in touch with a studio. They don't respond to their emails. There's a lot of like in London, for example, a lot of studios don't even have phone numbers you can call. They don't pick up. And I'm like, what if like just general things
If
about
there's emergency or the door is locked. Yeah, of course.
like how do I communicate to the studio? And to me, it's from a business side, this doesn't serve anyone because it kind of looks the students are paying for these classes, but they're not even able to get there because they can't physically get in touch with you. So there does need to be just have someone there at the front desk who is not the teacher to answer questions, to have that phone there, to have some kind of chat available. Maybe you communicate to your students, these are the times that we're going to be answering emails. These are the times that we're available on Instagram. Just places where you could be in touch with people and provide that communication to your students because that's setting a loving boundary for everyone. And it's just more welcoming. It's softening. There's just more options for everyone.
And they will do it. I used to do this when I taught in person and I do it online. Like I'm watching my phone because I would receive a message and they would message. If you give them a way to communicate, hey, I'm running late. Hey, I'll come 5-10 minutes late. Hey, so, okay, I know I'll lock the door, but I know in 10 minutes someone's going to come and lock, you know.
Exactly.
You give them the means to communicate, they will communicate with you. I get, even online, I get a message, today I can't join, but I'll join tomorrow or whatever, you know. It's two-way. It's what we said before.
The
You have
dialogue.
to enable that two-way communication, because if you offer it, the student will communicate with you.
Exactly. So, yoga teachers listening to this and yoga studio owners, this is accessibility for moms and for your yoga business and studio in general is communication. If you can teach to your students for a whole hour and you think it's just you in this one-sided conversation, you're teaching two bodies rather than with bodies. So, how can we do the same from a business perspective, from a studio perspective? And this is what we have to really keep in mind moving forward if we want to build these quote unquote yoga communities.
Yeah.
Earlier, though, you shared about mother circles. Can you provide a little bit of details? Because this is something that's still new for me. So, what is a mother circle? What age groups for children is it for? And where would we find something like this, whether
Yeah.
it's in a yoga studio or somewhere else?
Yeah, so I think there's two things to this. There's like I guess the small mothers. I think every prenatal yoga class and every postnatal yoga class is also a mother circle,
Okay.
because at the beginning or at the end, there's usually, personally, I think there should be
Mhm.
about 5 or 10 minutes of just talking.
Yeah.
Um, at the beginning or at the end of the class, generally at the beginning. So the teacher, so you get a feel for what's going on. You know, like you said before, many of your pregnant students don't know what they want or what they
Yes.
need. We don't need to ask them what they want or what they need. We just need to ask them how they're feeling, right? And
Yeah.
then if you do this in a circle, so in pregnancy yoga, I set up the class in a circle. The other classes, I would set them up linearly. But if you do it in a circle and you give everybody a chance to go around the circle and just say how they're feeling, you just start with something small, like how many weeks are you? How are you feeling? What's going on? And people start talking. And the most important thing about this, from what I see, is that something is always going on in their mind. And they feel like they're the only one. Because
Yeah.
most likely they've never experienced this before. So a lot of it is this normal. Should I be feeling like this? So and so, it's that kind of narrative. And as you go around the circle, you hear, me too. I also feel like this. My boss also said this to me. My husband also mentioned this. My midwife also said, you go through that. Or my friend said, and that is kind of a small mother circle.
Okay.
And then there's bigger spaces. So I hold monthly mother circles for my students, from the yoga students and the hypnobirthing students. And we get together and there's just a space to talk. So we start off. So instead of a yoga class where you start off by talking and then you do the yoga class, here I start off with a short practice.
Mhm.
And then it's anyone. It's anyone who's pregnant or who's postnatal, or in my online studio, I have something called Beyond Postnatal, which is anyone who feels they're not officially postnatal, maybe about a year or 2 year, but they still kind of want to move on to the next stage. So they're invited too. And then we kind of just the same thing. You just go around in turns. How are you feeling? Is there anything you want to say? I don't record these sessions because I want people to speak openly. I'm considering bringing a coach in. I would love to bring in a coach into the mother circle to give it a bit more. I'm not a coach. As a yoga teacher and as a listener and as a mother, if people ask me for advice, I'll give them advice. But I'm not a therapist, and I have done therapy since I became a mother, and I've seen the benefits of it incredibly. And I would like to, from September onwards, bring in a coach to kind of facilitate the mother circle, to actually help the mindset of mothers, go through. A lot of them feel guilt, feel bad, tired, things, doubts, a lot of self-doubts, a lot of anxiety, lack of confidence that comes after giving birth, the struggling to cope, those kind of feelings. So that's kind of, all of that can come out in a mother circle. Physical appearance, I feel fat, I feel whatever, all that kind of stuff, all of that can come out in the mother circle. Complaining about your mother-in-law, about your all those kind of things. And it's just a safe space where you can talk to people who are in the same position as you right now. They're the only people who are going to understand you there and then, because even though someone else has gone through it, maybe 10 years ago, or your mother went through it, they went through it. It's different.
Yeah. We're in a different time too.
We're in a different time.
Yeah, things have changed. What do you think the benefits of a mother circle is? If I was a new mother and I felt isolated, quote unquote, or I didn't have the support I need, where can I even look to find a mother circle?
Just either, it depends. You have the in-person, you have online.
Mm-hmm.
If you could, I would recommend starting in pregnancy.
Yeah.
Just join a class. That's the best thing to do, is just start by joining a class, because through that class, of course, you'll meet the other students and just ask. You just have to it's hard to make friends as an adult. It is, I know, but just start conversation. Would you like to go for after the class? Just be the first one to say, hey, would anyone like to go for a coffee?
Yeah. I love
What's
that.
your number? and start like that. Of course, there's lots of groups online. There's loads of groups online. Ask around. There's lots of, you invited me to a WhatsApp group. I'm in about 4 or 5 different WhatsApp groups, one for twins, one for moms in Spain, one for moms in Netherlands, one, it's so many groups. So there's a lot of that. And then online, join an online course.
Yeah.
Do it. Join an online membership. I taught a 4-week hypnobirthing course, right? And I mentioned that we cover the material in 4 weeks, but then you have access to the course materials and to me for 12 weeks, for 12 months. And there were 3 members in that course, the first one I did.
Yeah.
And they stayed in touch. And it's online. And they live in different countries. And they only met online 4 times. But by the second week, they were like so excited. And by the 4th week, they're like, what am I going to do next Friday morning? I've got so used to this. And then they were like messaging me to find out when the other one had given birth, and they were so excited for the other one, and they'd only met 4 times. And then we did a postnatal reunion after all 3 of them had given birth, and it went on, like, it was supposed to be 1 hour, it went on for 2 hours because they'd in 4 sessions they'd built this bond.
Yeah.
And they might never meet in person, but they've built this bond online. They've gone through this course together. They've all given birth around the same time. And you could see, I just was like, they could just connect on, one had given birth 3 months before the other. And what one was experiencing now, the other one had gone through just 2 months ago. It was amazing to watch one say, you know what, I was there 2 months ago. Don't worry, it gets better. And this is all online.
I love this. So what do you think, like you shared a lot about just what people are experiencing. What are the actual benefits of a mother circle? You get community, you get connection, you get this cheerleading squad to be there when you're giving birth, excitement. But if I was someone, like I shared earlier, I'm feeling isolated, what do you think the other side of that could be for me? What is the transformation available if I go to the mother circle or the prenatal class?
I think that isolation is real, and it's a big problem that we have. And I think that's one of the best things you can get from mother circle. It's that feeling of, am I the only one? That feeling of waking up at 3 a.m. thinking that you're the only one, it's 2 a.m. and your baby is crying, or you've been breastfeeding, or you're trying to breastfeed and it's been like 45 minutes and your baby's not latching, and he's has a fever or has this, and you feel like everyone else in the world is sleeping peacefully tonight, and here I am struggling away. You're not, right? You're not.
Yeah,
you have to know that there's so many people out there doing the same thing, and that feeling of I'm the only one, then you make yourself the victim, suffering, then you're struggling, and then you go down this rabbit hole, this spiral. So the mother circle has the power to take you out of that rabbit hole. It might not give you a solution for those sleepless nights. Maybe they will. Maybe someone will recommend something magical. Which happens, can someone recommend a sleep coach or lactation, all these practical things, or what bottle do you use, or how do you, whatever. Yeah. That's the practical level. But that feeling of, I'm not the only one who's feeling this, sense of, we say community quite loosely, but it's really that sense of connection of there's other moms around the world who are being woken up every 2 to 3 hours, who are just settling a crying baby, or whatever.
This is beautiful. And to me, this is being human. And I'm not a mom. I'm just the cool aunt who just like witnesses all my friends having kids. And I have witnessed like my dear girlfriends like become these like expansive creatures just through the love that they are, like the love that like I always saw them as, but like maybe they weren't fully connected to it yet. Like I said, I had that WhatsApp group, and like we're not even active in there anymore, but like it was there for the time that was needed. So I think like something as simple as that, just like anything that creates that connection of like wholeness, or you said it doesn't have to be community, but just like a safe place where people can go to like share without judgment exactly what they're experiencing, whether we give them solutions or not. Like this space is available for you to be held in, period.
Yeah. And not to feel shamed. I think it's so easy to say something online in a public space, and someone is always going to say something bad about it. And
who cares?
Yeah. Not
It's
feel
just
shamed.
noise. Yeah. You talked about hypnobirthing. I would love for you to just give us a definition of what hypnobirthing is. One of my friends just gave birth maybe 3 weeks ago, and this is her first time having a child. And she shared on social media a lot how she was really fearful of going into labor and giving birth. And she like went on Insight Timer to find mantras or meditations to tell herself, this is something natural my body does. My body knows how to do this. Can you talk about the definition of hypnobirthing, but also how hypnobirthing can assist moms in trusting their body of going through this process that from ancient times we have always gone through?
Yeah. I think it's easier to say what hypnobirthing is not.
What is it?
No, but I think people think hypnobirthing is a type of birth.
Mm,
It's not necessarily a type of birth. It's a tool we use to
yeah.
help us during birth. And I think the best way I would explain it is one of the ways my teacher says. She says, where the mind goes, the body follows. And what we're doing in hypnobirthing is training the mind so that the body can follow.
Yeah.
Because I mean, whether you're pregnant or not, right? We have this narrative going on in our head, these thoughts, these words. Yeah. So if you are talking about how you can't do this, or you can't give birth, or you're scared, or I'm feeling this, or the body is going to follow.
Yeah.
So in hypnobirthing, what we do is we have a variety of tools, like in yoga,
Yeah.
right?
It's just like a
Similar to
practice.
yoga, yoga is not one. We have a variety of tools, and we use them for different situations. So in hypnobirthing, so I teach Catherine Graves hypnobirthing, KGH, and that also is an antenatal course.
Okay.
So the course covers hypnobirthing and antenatal preparation because it kind of goes together. So we have visualizations, we have affirmations, we're heavy on relaxations, on guided relaxations, and that's where a big part of the hypnobirthing comes in. And then I add the yoga element to it in my own course. I combine the hypnobirthing and the yoga. But the key really is to practice the relaxations, I would say, if you have to pick one, because we know, whether you're a yoga teacher or not, we know that the body performs best when it's relaxed.
Yeah.
Right? If you think about the nervous system and your hormones and all of this, when the body's relaxed, you can have peak optimal performance, right?
Yeah.
And we want peak performance to be able to have a smooth delivery, and we want the right hormones to kick in to reduce the pain, right?
Yep.
So we produce our own natural pain relief when we're giving birth, and the body can do its thing. We kind of just have to let the body do it and get out of the way and
I
let the body
love
do its thing. So the ways to do it with hypnobirthing is get out mentally, get out of that narrative that you can't do it, and then physically. And physically, you need to do the relaxations. You need to be able to relax, to let your body be in that parasympathetic nervous state, so then the body can do its thing, right? But it's really hard to say, okay, now relax. Labor has started. Your contractions have started. Let's go to hospital. Now, please relax. It doesn't work like that. You know, we're not taught this. So you have to start as soon as you can, start to learn how to relax.
Can you give us an example? Because you've used the word relax and relaxations a lot. What is an example of a relaxation?
Yeah, so it could just be, so in hypnobirthing,
Mm-hmm.
relaxation is a guided relaxation. It's an audio with the right words, because vocabulary is very important,
Okay.
right? Like few words can make a very big difference in how we think and what we feel and what we're telling ourselves. So instead of I am trying to,
Ah,
I am not allowed, that kind of stuff. I am just 2 centimeters dilated. You
got
know,
it.
so you
The
have,
goal changes.
yeah, we change the narrative, we change the words. We use words that, sounds and words that make us feel better as
Yes.
well. So there's some scripted audios
Okay.
that are specifically written to support women who are pregnant, to prepare them for birth, depending if you're feeling low in confidence, if you're nervous about, depending on what it is. So the relaxation would just be, you could sit, you could lie down, and just put it on and listen to that.
Okay.
That's the hypnobirthing relaxation. Then, of course, there's just restorative yoga.
Love that.
Restorative yoga, music, anything that makes you feel good. And we want to stay in that bubble of positivity.
Yes.
We want to listen to positive birth stories. We want to do things that make us happy. Block out. I know there's some horrendous stuff going on out there. Block it out.
Yeah.
You're the only people who have the right to block it out right now. Block it
Exactly.
out. Don't watch, just watch nice stuff.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy. And that will keep your nervous system in the right place.
Yeah.
That will keep your adrenaline levels down and let your oxytocin levels take over. And that is what's going to let your body take over, do its thing, and give you the birth that you want.
This was such a beautiful description and definition of this. And I really agree with this is nervous system regulation where you have the absolute right and permission to block out anything that is not serving you so that you can be here you can be here to do what you're meant to do, which is to give birth and to stay in your bubble. And I even think after birth that bubble is just as important, and
Absolutely.
permission to set boundaries with these are the people who can come into the house until
Yeah.
we are ready to open up this bubble. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. Like we talk about all this rejoicing that the baby is born, which is so beautiful, but moms need this bubble so that they can have the care, so that they can have the restoration, so that they can have the healing, which takes weeks, if not months, to experience. And do you have any advice for moms or families who might they are very much in a healing and they need to be in their bubble so that they can heal? Like, what are some things that the people outside of them can provide from far away, or things that they can do to set those boundaries so that they can stay in their healing?
Yeah, ideally, again, it starts in pregnancy. Ideally, we actually cover this in the prenatal yoga course and the hypnobirthing course. How to protect your bubble after you've given birth, start before. I would lie about the due date.
Okay, I love that.
Personally, I recommend that to my students. Tell your immediate family, tell everybody else the baby's coming 2 months later.
Okay.
Something like that, so you won't be receiving messages.
Yeah.
Take your time. You don't need to tell everybody your baby's being born immediately.
Yeah.
Give yourself time. You could start like that. You could
Okay.
think of it as a lie or think of it of whatever, hiding the truth. I think it's
Right.
okay. And just have that conversation openly and honestly with people. And if there's someone who's going to come in and give you that negative energy, just make up an excuse. Get your partner. And this is where I bring partners in, because in the course that I teach is for parents. The birth partner, the other person, the other parent also has to take charge. And they are responsible here for protecting the mother. The mother is here to take care of the baby. The other person is there to protect the mother. So the other person has to be in charge of phone calls, who's coming, when they're coming. Anybody come, have a rule, come for half an hour, 45 minutes. And if you come, fold some laundry, bring some food.
Exactly.
Because we do need the help. I live in the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands there's a lot of, there's a lot of care, but at the same time, it's quite an individualistic society. And I've met a lot of couples who don't want anyone at all. Anyone. And when I gave birth, I had my mother, my father, my mother-in-law, my father, I've had family come into my home, and they come and they help and they cook and they clean and they do my groceries and they take care of the baby. But a lot of people don't want that. So I think you also have to be realistic about the fact that to receive help, you do need to open up your house.
Yeah. I love
You
this.
do need to let people in to receive help, because you do need help. Take that help. I feel we also live in this society where I'm going to do it. I need to do it. It just needs to be us. Just me, my partner, and my baby, just the three of us, which is a wonderful thing. But at the same time, that baby is part of society. It's part of a bigger family, right? So have a think about, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have someone else come in. Of course, it's an invasion of your privacy, having someone live in your house for a few weeks, but they're there to help you. And make it clear then that person is there to help you so that you can help with the baby.
Exactly. This is all being of service in a circular way. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Well, we are running out of time. Before we go, can you share with us where we can find you, how we can take your classes, and how we can take your membership too?
Yeah, so my website is www.krishyoga.com. I'm on Instagram mostly, Krish Yoga, Krish_yoga. Happy to take any DMs, just message me. And if you're pregnant or you're just giving birth or you're post giving birth, I call it beyond postnatal. If you think of a better name, let me know. And you want to do yoga or hypnobirthing, just send me a message and I'd be more than happy to help you. And if I can't help you myself, I'll do my best to make sure someone else can.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the Yes Pod today. And just thank you for being this fountain of education and knowledge for families, for moms, for yoga studios, and for yoga teachers. This episode, I feel, is so educational and so needed. And these conversations, I hope they ripple into studios and into families and homes so that mothers can be more taken care of and children can too, and just recognition of everyone in society. So thank you so much, Krish. I'm so grateful you are here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If you are a women-run business and want to be featured as a commercial on the Yes Podcast, then send an email to britta@brittamareda.com or check the show notes to get the details. Thank you for listening to the Your Entrepreneurship School podcast. If funding your life abroad sounds like something you want to do, then check out the show notes to find out ways we can work together. If you feel called to leave a review, then you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I'll see you on our next episode where we will expand our business bank accounts in brilliance without settling for a life that tames us, all while saying yes to our wildest dreams.